This podcast contains paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap podcast, where I discuss how you can grow your business by the bootstraps. This applies to everyone with an entrepreneurial spirit. That includes bootstrappers just starting out, established business owners, and business leaders. My goal is to help you grow both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Isaiah O'Connor.
Today's sponsor is Tilly Hats, or Tilly Endurables, official company name. Tilly Endurables is a hat company that makes some amazing outdoor hats and outdoor gear and travel gear. Very comfortable, very tough, hence the name Endurables. And overall, they make a wonderful hat that's very strong, very protective, water resistant, waterproof, sunproof, etc. And they have a lot of fun little stories on their website. So I'm going to read one of them for you right now. Calloused hands, tanned face, a ready smile, and a Tilly hat. For as long as I can remember, those traits are in my mind regarding my dad. I don't think there was ever a time my kids didn't see Grandpa working hard and wearing his Tilly. Whether it was fixing a tractor at Rockwood Acres or leading a trip through Malawi, Africa. There was the Tilly. It was like he was never really dressed till he had the hat on. To me, it has been a symbol of what real fatherhood is all about. You work hard, you love your family, and you don't hold back. That's the legacy I want to pass on to my kids as well. Dad's words by Matthew. So, Tilly Hat, very cool company. I do like them. Yes, this is a business podcast, not necessarily relating to business. However, it is good and important to dress well. If you want to help us out, check out the link below to check out their site. And of course, it helps us as well when you go and visit them. Now, the reason I chose Tilly as a sponsor today, instead of just my normal audible.com or one of my other business podcast type things, business type things, is today's subject, which is dressing to impress. I know those words are a little bit cliched, but it's very true. You do need to dress to impress when you're in business. Whether you're a business leader or you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, bootstrapper, you need to dress the correct part and look very professional. What do I mean by dressing the part? I mean, you need to dress what people expect in your profession. For example, if you show up at a young couple who are having their first house built and you're a contractor and you're there to sit down with them to talk about building their dream house, if you show up in a $5,000 suit, then maybe that might be a little bit over the top. And they won't really want to maybe work with you. For one, that suit's way too expensive for a contractor. Two, contractors don't need to be known for their business suits. They need to be known to be hardworking guys that know how to work with their hands and know how to build. So, a nice shirt maybe, some clean jeans, a clean shirt, that's important. You dress professionally, but you don't need to dress to the nines if you're a contractor building a house. On the flip side, if you're a lawyer and somebody needs you to hire you to litigate a case or to defend them in a court case, and you show up in jeans and a torn up jeans and ratty t-shirt, they're going to not want to have you represent them because a lawyer does need the $5,000 suit and look good as they go. Otherwise, people won't take them seriously. So then there's also the important part of not just dressing well, but being clean and showing up at an event or showing up to meet with a client, especially if it's a business-to-business client. If you show up and you're dirty and you stink and you haven't showered in a couple of days, then you're going to put that client off. You definitely have to show up like you're professional, ready to do some work, with maybe an exception of if you're a contractor and they know that you're in between two jobs and you're squeezing them in between one construction site and another. If you're a little dusty and dirty because of that, yeah, you can probably get away with that. But you need to look like you're taking yourself seriously. You need to look like you're trying to be clean. You need to look like you're trying to be a professional, a well-groomed professional for whatever your profession is. Even if you are just a content creator. If you're a content creator, you got a lot more leeway. You're not likely going to be seeing people face to face that often unless you're doing video, of course. But if you're a blogger or a podcaster and you're never on screen, then that's fine. You can wear whatever you feel like. You can go 3 weeks, a month without taking a shower, whatever you feel like. But if you're ever meeting with a client, if you're ever meeting with a show sponsor, if you're ever doing anything business, you need to dress the part and dress up nice and look good. Because again, it sends a message that you're being a true professional. Now, let me give you an example with my dad. My dad was working for a large chain restaurant in the States. And he was the manager of a store. As a manager of a store at a restaurant, I should say, he always would come to work in a suit and tie. He taught me to wear a suit and tie. If you're a manager, if you're going for a job interview, you have to look good. So he'd go to work, suit and tie. He's the store manager. That's what a store manager of a restaurant wears, suit and tie. Now, on this particular day, the district manager had stopped in for a chat. And the district manager had been wearing the company's official t-shirt that was approved as official company dress code. So he was completely allowed to use this t-shirt. No problem. And he had some nice pants on or whatever. He was sitting there with my dad at the counter, and they're talking business when a customer walked up and said, "Hey, I need to talk to the manager." My dad turned around, the other guy turned around, and the district manager said, "Oh, I'm the district manager. I can help you." The customer looked at the guy in the t-shirt, looked at the guy in a suit and tie, my dad, and proceeded to ignore the district manager because he was in his t-shirt and talk to my dad because he was in the tie. My dad looked like a professional. Even though he was outranked by the other guy, my dad looked more like he was more with it and knew what he was doing, and thus the customer trusted the other guy. Sad to say, customers do judge you by your appearance. I'm sure you try not to judge people by their appearance. Well, I hope so. It's good to try to judge people by what they do, of course. But yeah, people do look at you. If you're a businessman and you don't look professional, yeah, they'll pass. But you have to look professional in that profession. For example, if you're working as a salesman at Hot Topic, again, wearing a suit and tie, people are going to freak out. You have to wear the right clothes. You have to wear leather and jeans and that sort of thing. Of course, it's been a long time since I've been in a Hot Topic, being in Norway, but you get the idea. You have to look professional for that profession. You also might have to recognize regional differences. For example, here in Norway, people here don't expect a suit and tie except for high-level business people, managers, etc. Business to business, that type of thing. But even then, a tie might be a little bit too much, even in those meetings. You don't usually wear a full suit and tie unless it's a wedding, a funeral, the national holiday, which is May 17th, or very, very formal events, which are black tie events. But other than that, you don't usually wear a tie in Norway. You can wear a nice dress shirt, maybe a nice dress jacket, depending on the settings. But in general, you don't want to wear a suit and tie in Norway too often. It's a little bit, comes off a little bit over the top, a little bit snobbish, for example. But that's a regional thing. I've gone into job interviews wanting to have a suit and tie on, and my wife says, no, forget the tie, just have the shirt. That's enough. You don't need the whole getup. Or you can wear the tie, but don't put on the dress coat, because then it looks over the top. You look too much. So again, there are regional differences. You gotta know your region, you gotta know your market, you gotta know what people are looking for, and you gotta dress well. And another thing, just as a side note, if you do need a suit and tie, all you need is one that looks good on you. And if you can afford to have it somewhat tailored so it fits better, great. But you don't need a $5,000 or $10,000 Armani suit to impress somebody. Again, you might need one if you're a lawyer. Outside of that, maybe not. According to the book, The Millionaire Next Door, most of the millionaires they interviewed were first generation rich, most of which were small business owners, and they rarely spent more than $200 for a suit, ever. And these are some of the wealthiest men in America. Multi-millionaires who started businesses, who worked really hard to get where they were. And a $5,000 suit was not part of that equation. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to dress right. You just need to spend a lot of thought in order to dress correctly. So to wrap up, it's very important to appear professional to your clients, to your customers, to people you do business with. You have to make sure you're dressed in the correct suit or outfit, whatever you want to call it, for your profession. You need to come across as professional, not ostentatious, not over the top, but not like a dirty bum either. You need to do somewhere that fits perfect so that client looks at you and goes, okay, here's a real professional I can trust, I can listen to, and I want to give my money to. So it's a little thing. This is not a long one today, but this is a very important thing that a lot of businessmen actually don't seem to know, especially small entrepreneurs that will just show up in whatever they throw on to meet with a client. Doesn't always work out great. They might get away with it. Some people can get away with it just because of their personality. But in general, you need to try to dress somewhat neat, somewhat nice in order to impress. Oh, one last example, Steve Jobs. He dressed in his famous little black polo shirt or turtleneck shirt, whatever that was, and jeans, and was wildly successful, even in the big events. That was his style. But even then, he was clean shaven, clean cut, clean. It was a nice shirt, nice jeans. You could tell they were clean. You could tell they were new. They weren't worn down. They weren't faded. They weren't beat up. They were still very professional for him and his company. And it said, I'm professional, but I'm relaxed. And it sent the proper message for Steve Jobs. So again, you gotta look at the message you're sending, the industry you're in. Do you want to be over the top? Do you want to set a certain look that everyone knows you by? For example, there's a guy on YouTube named Tim Pool. He's famous for wearing jeans, shirt, and a hoodie. Not a hoodie, a beanie. And he was even invited to the White House, and he went in his jeans, t-shirt, and his beanie. He didn't dress up for the White House. It's his thing. It's kind of his brand. And that's branding, which is a different thing, which is something I'll be needing to talk about later, is branding, setting up a brand, etc. Anyway, you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday. And then on Tuesday, I will be hopefully getting up another episode of the remastered editions. Oh, and by the way, I do hope you forgive, but I skipped Thanksgiving uploading because, well, it was Thanksgiving and my son's birthday. Busy day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
If you found value in this content, please leave a comment and give us a 5-star rating on whichever podcast platform you use. We're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, and most other podcast platforms. If you would like to support us, you can check out our sponsor links, or if you'd like to support us directly, you can donate or join our membership program at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap. Of course, it really helps when you share these podcasts with your friends as well. If you'd like to interact with me and other bootstrappers and leaders, you can join us over at our O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast Facebook group. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, an Atheoz Business Solutions podcast. For a companion podcast, the Atheoz Business Podcast, which is hosted by Jason St. Clair, past episodes and related blogs, please check out our website at www.atheoz.com, which is at www.atheoz.com or theoz.com. Until next time, I have been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.